Hey y'all, it's Nomadic Shaman here. Thank you for visiting my page. Today's video, the focus is going to be a channeled message that I received from Mary Magdalene. I also received a channel message from Jesus himself. Okay, that message I'm going to include towards the end of the video because the primary focus is going to be Mary Magdalene. Now, this channel message is directed towards divine feminines, okay? And I think I'm going to title this video Sacred Harlot, okay? Because it's fitting, it's jarring, and it pretty much gives you some insight on what I'm going to discuss. Now, Mary, for those who do know, strong in the Bible, Mary Magdalene, there are a lot of stories that connects Mary Magdalene to being a prostitute. This cannot be further from the truth. She was not a prostitute. She was a divine feminine. She was a holy woman. She was a sacred woman. And she also shared with me how she wrote scriptures, holy scriptures, okay? They did not include this in the canonized Bible. This is what she is telling me, or this is what she told me. But she does have scriptures, holy scriptures, teachings. Okay. Now, the name Mary means sacred and holy. Her last name, Magdalene, that was not her real name. She's actually from Italian descent. Okay, her last name starts with a G. It's hard for me to pronounce, so I'm just going to go ahead and write it down and then include it in this video, the last name that she gave me. So again, Mary's name means sacred and holy, and the reason why this channeled message is so fitting is because it speaks of the origin of prostitute and how it came to be, and which is actually you get down to the nitty gritty of it, the heart of it, the root of it. This was actually a untapped gift, and a gift, not only so much untapped, but it was also a gift that was activated within a lot of divine feminines, like way back. But somewhere along the way, it got sullied. The definition, the action got sullied. And I'm even hearing a defilement as far as a gift that the divine feminine used to heal others, a way of going about healing others. And so I'm going to get into that, a little bit. Now, if we think of the word prostitute, you've also probably heard Lady of the Night. Well, Lady of the Night was derivative of Lady of the Stars, right? Well, not right, but Lady of the Stars, which was derivative of Lady of the Stars in Heaven. Now, just a side note, Mary Magdalene shared with me that there's an Egyptian goddess who holds a similar energetic frequency and signature to her. She goes by Kadesh. Okay, she was an Egyptian goddess who held the same frequency and energetic signature of Mary Magdalene. Now, going back into what I was describing of the Lady of the Night, Lady of the Stars, Lady of the Prostitute. Okay, the word prostitute was associated with the Lady of the Night. Lady of the Night was derivative of Lady of the Stars. Lady of the Stars was derivative of Lady of the Stars in Heaven. Now, specifically, this gift that she was telling me about that's within the divine feminine is actually the gift to heal through sex. Now, this is where I'm saying where this was once a once a gift, a way of healing others. And somewhere along the lines, this became very defiled and sullied and looked at as less than. One of the things that she had spoken to me about was the potency that is held within the your creative energy, your manifestation energy, which comes from your sacral chakra. This is how you create physically your womb space, bringing forth children in this world physically. And this is where the beginning of creation, okay, within the woman's womb space, it starts within the sacral chakra, the womb space, okay? And so this is where this gift is also tapped into, where the divine feminine's ability, once activated and harnessed, has the ability to heal. Okay. Now she showed me images of divine feminine in a time where not only in Egyptian time, where they actually used this as a practice. It wasn't called Tantra. It was not called Tantra at that time, but it was definitely a wellness practice where they used the act of sex to heal people. And I said, how? And she literally showed me images of women. And it was just like these particular women who did this type of work were held themselves to a very high standard as far as physically. So making sure that they were physically well, physically in shape, mentally, emotionally, and also spiritually. And these women, not only did they delve a lot of time and focus on self-care, but they spent a lot of time devoted to a higher power and in meditation. And she showed me how there were times in the year where these women would dedicate themselves and focus themselves to praying, to meditating, to gifting themselves to a higher power. I don't know why I'm feeling like none type of thing, in a sense where preserving oneself, body, emotions, mentally. But then there was a portion of the year where they would do their healing work. And the type of healing work that they would do is engaging in physical intimacy, y'all. And this was for the sole purpose of healing folks who have spiritual ailments, spiritual diseases. For those who do not know, all physical diseases is a manifestation of spiritual diseases. So if you can catch the sickness in the spiritual, you can avoid it from manifesting in the physical. For those who do not know, and I've used this as an example before, where if I use cancer as an example, there's a lot of different ways to skin a cat, but if I'm going to use cancer as an example, cancer is a physical manifestation of guilt and hoarding energy, which starts in the mental space. So it's how you think, then it's how you feel, and then that affects physical dis-ease. But for those who can see in the spirit, you can see the sickness in the spirit. And if you can catch the sickness in the spirit to heal people, then you can eliminate it from manifesting physically. And this is the gift. This is the gift that anointed and divine feminines hold and harness, but they need to activate it. Now, am I saying go out and fuck everybody you meet? No, I'm not. That is not what I'm saying. What I am saying is that all divine feminines have the ability, once activated, or once this gift is activated, have the ability to not only heal themselves, but also heal others that they are intimate with. Okay. But this, of course, isn't, what is it? This isn't something to be hold, it's not something to hold lightly. Okay. That one saying, when someone, wait, huge responsibility, huge gift. I don't know, y'all. I don't want to fuck up that message. I'll probably remember it at some point and I'll put it in the not comments, but add it towards the video. But that's what I but that's what I wanted to get to. So I thought that was very interesting. She also showed me how these women who would like reserve a certain period within the year to be physically intimate with men, for the remainder of the year they were celibate because they were giving themselves to the Most High. Like I said beforehand, like a nun, they were reserving themselves like a nun. They would be heavily into meditation. They would be healing themselves in the astral, in the spiritual, to prepare to heal others in the physical, as it relates to sickness, spiritual ailments, spiritual disease, and physical sickness. Okay. She showed me that this practice that, again, was for like overall like well-being, but she showed me not only was this practice used in Egypt, but she said it even predates Egypt because there were divine feminines who would do this practice as far as Atlantis is what she shared with me. So some of the things that she also mentioned was certain practices as it relates to, it just brings a whole new meaning to Marvin Gaye's sexual healing. Like, yo, that shit straight up really exists. Like really exist, at least definitely back then. And I take it, even up until this point for those who had that gift or ability, because I feel like all divine feminines have that capability, but the ability currently to be able to do that, that's something altogether different. But every divine feminine has that capability. But she was showing me how people's anxiety was healed, people's trauma was healed, men who suffered depression, they were healed through this sexual act with these divine feminines. She was showing me how physical ailments, physical disease, okay, and how when they were with their partner physically, how they would go into a meditative trance state and look at this is happening all during the act, y'all, okay? But while they are with their partner physically, will go into a meditative state, would then do like a scan, a body scan, to look for sickness and then to heal them in the spirit while they're physically doing the act. This is the type of practice that was going on as far back as the Atlantis. And it's not like on one hand, I mean, today's standards, people would be calling them hoes, but that's looking at it through a patriarchal lens. But Mary Magdalene shared with me that this particular act was very sacred. I mean, from beginning to end, and how they, in the preparation, in the duration, and then even after the act, like how they held it in a sacred regard, because they were very selective with whom they healed. They were very selective with how they healed. And maybe like, if I'm using for an example, maybe like 3 months out of the year, they use that time solely on healing the sick, but the rest was dedicated to healing themselves and forming a connection, cultivating, fostering a connection with the Most High. Okay. So that they are in the best optimal position to be able to carry out that type of work. And today, people would quickly associate or connect that with prostitution. But she, of course, and that's where the sullied and defilement comes in. But then that also plays into the effect how that particular gift was abused in the sense, you know what I'm saying? But anyways, that's one of the things that I wanted to share, or she wanted me to bring forward. The other part, because there was another part of the message that she wanted me to share. She also told me to look up Tantra, because I said, is this something like Tantra? And she said, that's the closest to what is widely known today as far as the practice, but she said it's a lot more in depth. Meaning like Tantra, when you hear tantric sex or Tantra sex, it's almost like, I don't want to say this, but it's almost like, think of monks or nuns who do their thing, how they do their thing 9 months out of the year. And then 3 months out of the year, they're out healing people, but they heal people through sex. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like that, the type of work, how that sacred, how that is. Okay. But anyways, so she said it's not like tantric sex, but if you need a reference, then that's like the closest by today's standards of that is indicative or descriptive of what Divine Feminines was doing back then as far as Atlantis times. So I looked up tantric sex, y'all, and I'm going to share with you what I found. Okay. Where is it? Okay. So tantric sex is, in the physical, emotional connection where they can channel and transform sexual energy into a greater self-awareness. Okay. And even spiritual enlightenment and improving overall general well-being, like in a meditative state. One other interesting thing that Mary Magdeline shared with me is that these divine feminines who did this type of practice would also do it to push divine masculines into their awakening through intimacy, through physical intimacy, and how there's a lot of divine feminines who are doing that and aren't even aware of their gift that they're doing it. Okay. Like, you've ever heard of the power of the pussy? You know what I'm saying? It's like, y'all, this may be vulgar, but you think about that, and essentially, I mean, damn, there's truth to it based on the explanation that I had received. How in a lot of cases, divine feminines, unbeknownst to them, be pushing men straight up into their spiritual awakening through the power of the pussy. And therein is proof of that divine feminine gift to awaken through physical intimacy. Like, and it's just a matter of one harnessing it. Like, very early on, you may realize the power and effect of your pussy with the people that you choose to interact with or be physical with. but you may not be in realization or consciously aware that you are a divine feminine that is wielding that gift to be able to heal folks or push folks straight up into their spiritual awakening. And that's some deep ass shit. So, anyways, she said that it's not a gift that one should be ashamed of, but let me make this clear. It's also not a gift that should be abused. Okay. With huge power comes responsibility. That's what I just heard. Okay. Now, the last part is message from Jesus. Now, Jesus is the name that is used into the Bible. But the message came clear was Jesus doesn't like to be called Jesus. He says he prefers, he recognizes the name being used all throughout the Bible, and he recognizes that is the name that he is connected and associated with and referred to. However, he does not identify with that name. He says he identifies with Yeshua. This is the name that he prefers to be called over Jesus. He prefers Yeshua. Okay. So that was my message. I'm going to leave it here for now, and then I'll see you on the other end, on the other side. All right, y'all. Peace.